Well, first of all, just like church, nobody sits up front, so there's plenty of great seats up front if you want. Before we get started today, good morning and welcome to the 2022 State of the Community event. Before we get started, I want to introduce Destiny Walters, who's the venue director here at the Postmark, for a quick rundown of what the Postmark offers here. Destiny?
Good morning, everybody. How are we? Good. Everybody enjoy that coffee? As Mike said, my name's Destiny. I'm the venue director here for the Postmark. I'm very happy to have you guys here. So let me tell you a little bit about our space. We are a wedding venue primarily, but we do corporate events and any type of event that you have. So any business events that you have, luncheons, we do a lot with the chamber. So we would love to host those for you. So a couple of things we have going on coming up is tomorrow we have a night market. So it's a twist on a normal craft market. So we have live music, and we're going to feature our new bar that's opening. Our actually grand opening is May 5th. So this building is an old post office, as you guys know, and the Staley family is who owns it, and they've really poured a lot of time and energy into the building. So we are here for you guys. We would love to host more events for the community, so feel free to reach out to me. And if you have any questions, I'll be mingling around in the back. So thanks for coming.
Thank you, Destiny. Again, my name is Mike Throne. I'm president and CEO of the Chamber. I want to welcome everyone today. I also want to welcome everyone watching via live stream on Facebook and YouTube as well. And before we get to the slate of speakers that we have today, I want to take an opportunity to thank all of those who put time and effort into bringing this event into fruition. First of all, thank you to Kingston National Bank for being our presenting sponsor. KNB has been the sponsor for our annual Community Outlook Breakfast that we've done for years and years, but the last 2 years we had to do virtually. And so we thought it was a good gesture to allow them to be the title sponsor of this event, to get them in front of you. They're a great member of the Chamber, a platinum member as well, and they're an amazing community partner for many of you as well. Once again, I want to thank Destiny and the Postmark for hosting the event today. The event space is really growing in popularity in downtown, and Destiny is incredibly easy to work with. All of this came together very, very quickly, and she also does a great job with our Women in Business every month as well. Our morning refreshments were brought to us all the way from Frankfurt. Deeply Rooted Cafe and Kennedy Moss provided the scones and pastries and hot, nice coffee and more. And she's a newer Chamber member and part of the Frankfurt downtown movement that you may have read about. Also, she's now one of our biggest recruiters. She got us a new member this week, and we didn't even have to work for it. So like that was pretty amazing. Aaron Anderson and DNA Productions have provided the live stream for today's presentations to allow anyone who wants to view this at any time the ability to do so. I'm really grateful to Aaron and Nick and Carissa for their efforts today. They also have helped us with our new 5 Questions With series, which is on our social media channels. And finally, I want to thank our presenters. I'm going to give a short State of the Chamber address, and then I'll be followed by Debbie Swinehart from the Chillicothe City Schools, and she will talk about the state of education. Dr. John Gabus will talk about a state of healthcare that's focused on medical partnerships. Dwight Garrett from the Ross County Board of Commissioners will give the state of the county, and then the mayor, Mayor Luke Feeney, will give the state of the city address. So please give all these folks a round of applause for all their help with us today. And so with that, I'm going to start with a brief State of the Chamber address. I'm not sure I'd recommend taking over as the local Chamber of Commerce CEO right before a pandemic hits, but most of the unpleasantries of COVID are outside of our grasp now, and we can start focusing on not just helping our businesses survive, but thrive. And despite the lingering impact of the pandemic, our chamber is thriving. Our membership growth is up 7% since 2019, even with that rough 2020 factored in there. And we're now at 773 members, up from 725 in my first year as CEO. New membership was up 19% in 2021 as Bobby Kello signed 93 new members, a new record high for her work at the chamber. And we've added 32 to date. In fact, that might be 33 now, right? Because I think we signed another one yesterday. But we've added more than 30 already this year. And if that pace continues, she'll break the record again this year. So even in the COVID year, she signed 78 new members. She's relentless, and she loves to pursue the match of our great services to the business's needs. But we're not just signing new members. Our retention is also strong. 91% of 2020's new members were retained in 2021, up from 84% the year before. Obviously, the growth in membership has also boosted our revenues. And since 2019, our revenue has ballooned to more than $400,000, an increase of 18%. And when we factor out the $675,000 in CARES Act money that we administered on behalf of local businesses in 2020, we actually had a little bit of a revenue dip in 2020, as did everyone when you factor that out. But we rebounded nicely last year, and we've been under budget on expenses each year in that time frame. Those are the hard numbers that point out our growth, and they're enjoyable to read. But beyond that, we're meeting the needs of our businesses. Last year, we changed the focus of our traditional membership guide to a relocation and community guide, which has been very well received in the community. It's a blend of community pride, facts and figures, and details about the pulse of our community that helps our businesses to retain and hire key employees. Special thanks to Metropolis Design Studio for their hard work in producing that guide. Bobby Kello, of course, sold the ads into that and did a great job as well. We have copies available today if you would like some for your business or to use in your hiring practices. If you need more than just a few, we can arrange to have those brought out to you as well. And 2022 has seen a dramatic increase in the number of offerings that we help to provide to help build business. Thrive Chillicothe, our new business seminar series, is in full swing. Our sessions on money-saving opportunities, social media marketing, and ways to grow your business, find grant opportunities, and more are going to help sustain the small businesses that we're starting now. Wendy Bennett, our small business resource navigator, is spearheading this effort for us and doing a tremendous job. We're also eagerly anticipating a full return to in-person meetings for the Ross County Safety Council later this year. I'd also like to thank our friends in the Southern Ohio Chamber Alliance. SACA helps the local chamber provide money-saving benefits to its members, including low-cost health benefits and 401k programs, and the Chamber Energy Program, which can help save hundreds of dollars on gas and electric rates. Lower costs will help us navigate the current supply chain and workforce issues that have plagued many businesses as the pandemic subsides. And Sedgwick, our workers' compensation partner, also saved local chamber members nearly $260,000 last year. So ask any of us how we can help you save money. And we're also out and about more. Our Business After Business events are back. In fact, we had a huge event just down the street with Hurley Heat Moving and Storage last week. Great event. Our annual meeting is May 10th, and our golf outing is back in July. But I say my favorite new thing for last. Earlier this month, we started 5 Questions With, a new video series from the Chamber, which puts us out into our businesses to educate the community about our amazing members. Each Tuesday, we post a video on our Facebook page and YouTube channels. They're a lot of fun, and the feedback has been great. Thanks again to Aaron Anderson and DNA Productions for their work on those videos. Finally, our role at the Chamber is to convene and connect. It's a role that we take very seriously. We believe in convening our partners and helping them connect with our other businesses to serve our community. It's the heartbeat of what we do. If you can think of any other ways that we could help do that, I'm all ears for that. We thank you for the opportunity to serve our businesses. Thank you. Now, we will turn our attention to the education community and the Chillicothe City Schools. Superintendent Debbie Swinehart has served in that role since 2019 after serving as Assistant Superintendent and Director of Special Services. She's expanded STEM courses through the district and worked to address behavior challenges through a collaborative effort inside the district. She's been at the forefront of not only the district's COVID response, but much, much more. Please help me welcome Superintendent Debbie Swinehart.
Good morning, everyone. Can this move up a little bit so I can see what I'm doing there? All righty. So my name's Debbie Swinehart, and I've been in education for 36 years. And the past 19 years have been with Chillicothe City Schools. I started out here as a special ed director and then became the assistant superintendent. For 1 year during that time, I wasn't the special ed director, and then I got it back. And then I became the superintendent, and I am still the special ed director for the district. And, you know, the board, I think, has a lot of confidence in me to kind of navigate that very, very, very challenging part of services that we provide to students. So I'm appreciative of that. Me personally, I live in Lancaster. I've lived there pretty much my whole life. I graduated from Fisher Catholic High School, the Ohio University, and the University of Dayton as well. I attend St. Mary's Catholic Church in Lancaster, where I'm a liturgical reader. I am a hospice volunteer for Fair Hope Hospice, No One Dies Alone. And I recently started CrossFit. And every morning I realize I'm not 40 anymore. But I started that just because I thought I got to challenge myself outside of school. So I really enjoy it, but it's tough. It's a tough gig. I'm going to be a first-time grandmother in July, so I'm pretty excited about that. My only daughter, Morgan, and her husband, Manny, are expecting their first baby. So a little bit about Chillicothe City Schools. What I thought I would do is I'm going to take you through kind of every building and what's happening in there, what are some of the challenges that we have, because this year has been nothing short of crazy, Bill. Last year was a cupcake walk compared to this year. And I'm not sure what changed other than a whole bunch of kids came back and just everything that goes on in the world. So we've been challenged this year by many things, as many school districts have. So as a district, we serve between 2,700 and 2,800 kids. And that number fluctuates by the week. And we're considered a highly mobile school district, according to the ODE. So that creates challenges when kids are in and out of school like that. We have 370 full-time and part-time staff in the district. And of the 2,700 kids that we serve, there are 3 subgroups that I think are important to talk about because they create challenges for the district in terms of providing their education and meeting their needs. So the first subgroup is our students with disabilities. Of those 2,700 kids, we have 500 plus students that are identified as having a disability. And those disabilities, my water, range from a speech and language delay to multiple disabilities and autism. We serve approximately 400 homeless students in our district, and that number grows every year. And thank you very much, I appreciate that. Of those 400 students to be considered homeless, you can be living in a homeless shelter. You could be doubled up with an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent or a friend. We have many high school kids that couch hop. They just go from friend to friend, house to house. So that number is pretty large. Tabitha Muse is our homeless coordinator, and she does an incredible job. Obviously, some of the challenges with those kiddos is their attendance is sporadic. Very, very difficult to get them to come to school because a lot of times that's not their biggest priority right now. And we also serve, and this is an odd number to tell you, but it's interesting. We now serve 27 English second language learners. Up until about 2 years ago, we had 5. So the challenge that creates for us is they're across the entire district, but because we hit that magic number of 27 this year, we now have to have a full-time English second language teacher. That's been very difficult to find because there's a specific license that they have, but we did find somebody. So that number, we're going to anticipate that that's going to grow quite a bit. Our last report card shows that our budget, the money we received was $38 million, and that's a combination of local, state, federal, and other revenues. Each student, we spend approximately $9,313 on each student to educate them. The district priorities continue to be literacy, 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 making sure that all of our students can read at grade level at the end of every grade. And we recently partnered with Ohio State University on the Literacy Collaborative Framework. We're in year 2 of that. I'll talk a little bit more as we go along. But we think we're taking the right steps towards making sure that all of our kids can read at the end of their grade level. Our other priority is to graduate 100% of our students. Right now, we're at 86%. And obviously, students with disabilities, our homeless kiddos, they're the ones that are challenged to graduate on time. So that's a goal of ours, is to get 100% of our kids graduated. The other goal is to increase parent involvement. It's a challenge for us to get parents involved. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but that's something as a district we're committed to making sure we can help our parents feel more comfortable coming into their children's schools and coming to meetings and talking to us about concerns they have. The other is to meet the student wellness needs of our students. And those are very, very challenging because, as many of you know, depending on where you work, there's not enough providers to meet the demand today. And if our kids aren't mentally well when they're in school, sitting in a desk and learning is really not their biggest priority. And even our preschoolers come in really not mentally well right now. So we're working very hard to keep meeting that need. We also want to make sure that we're providing extracurricular activities that all students can get involved in. I've had about, I think, 63 expulsion hearings this year. I think that's a world record in our district. And those come from vaping, and they come from fighting. Those are the biggies, and some crazy social media stuff kids get engaged in. But the common factor in those kids that are sitting in my expulsion hearings is they are not involved in anything outside of school. They come to school, and they go home, and they hole up in their rooms, and they're on their phones, on social media, and there's nothing good coming of that. So typically, one of my punishments, if you're expelled, is that you have to identify something you're interested in. We set up a meeting with the coach or with the drama teacher or somebody that they can get involved in something, esports, something like that. I think one thing I've really noticed in my time as a superintendent that every parent loves their kid as much as we love ours. It may look different to us, but they love their kids as much as we do. They're just as troubled by some of the decisions that they make. So they're always very open to what we offer to them. The other priority for us is to provide safe schools. I feel like we do have a lot of those great things in place, but we want to keep making sure that our schools are safe. We need to increase the diversity of our staff. That's also very challenging to recruit diverse teachers and therapists and principals to Chillicothe, Ohio. Very big challenge for us. We want to keep meeting the needs of our kids when they come through the door, meet them right where they are every day. And every day can look different for every kiddo. I think our staff do a great job with that. They're a very, very caring group of people. But it takes more than a teacher to meet the needs of our students. So Mount Logan, I'm going to start with preschool, because some people may not even know this. Mount Logan, although it's home for the Adena Clinic, and Hopewell Clinic and some other things. The library has a space in there. We currently have 4 early childhood education classrooms in there that serve 84 students, 84 preschoolers that are 4 years old. The district has 2 special ed preschool classrooms in this building as well, and there are 16 children in those classrooms. And then the Pioneer Center has 2 special ed preschool classrooms in there also, and most of those kiddos in that classroom belong to Chillicothe City Schools also. We offer itinerant speech, OT, PT, and specially designed instruction for special ed students that are age 4 who don't necessarily want to put their child in a preschool. So we serve 116 students in that building. 32 of them are students with disabilities. Those 32 will transition to kindergarten next year. You know, so the challenges of those kiddos going into kindergarten is very real. We are a 5-star Step Up to Quality program. I don't really know what that means. It's just something OD makes us do. 5 stars is the highest you can get. We are that. I've never had a parent call me and ask me, how many stars are you? He knows about that. We also offer an integrated STEM curriculum. Music, PE, counseling services are also available down there. And currently, this school year, when we transitioned our preschoolers over to kindergarten for their kindergarten readiness assessment and registration, all of those kids could read at some level. Yeah, so that's our biggest priority. Any child that leaves preschool, we want them to be able to read starting in kindergarten. It is our only way to make sure kids can advance grade level to grade level and not be behind. So we're very proud of that, and we're going to continue to expand upon that next year. So this here is what we hope to be our new preschool building. We are building a new preschool. I'm sure many of you have seen all the trees and the hole over there by the high school. That's the site. The current old baseball field is where we hope to build this. We have at least gone through the design phase. This is designed to have lots of STEM integrated into it, and it will house hopefully 200 preschoolers. And our goal is that every student that's going to come to kindergarten in Chillicothe City Schools comes to preschool here. And obviously, if you come to preschool, you've got a better chance of getting through kindergarten. So that's our goal for that. We don't really have, you know, kind of a date of when this will start and be open. That's to be determined. We're working through some things, but we at least have our design ready to go. Okay, so the next is Chillicothe Primary. And I don't know if you've been in this building, but there are some things we probably would change knowing what we know now. There's too many windows in there. It opened in August of 2018, and it houses kindergarten, first grade, and second grade. There are currently over 600 students in attendance in that building, and you know, we hope to grow the kindergarten sizes over the next couple years with preschool, opening up preschool. This is one of 4 Ohio STEM designated schools in the state of Ohio that is awarded by the Ohio Department of Education. So obviously we offer a STEM, integrated STEM curriculum there, and you know, the goal of that is just to create engaging activities and help our kids become critical thinkers younger. So that's something that we're pretty proud of. This building has 2 STEM teachers that are solely focused on coaching teachers and putting together the STEM curriculum. The other big thing we're focused on here is literacy instruction, high quality literacy instruction from all teachers. When we merged all 4 buildings together, we did not realize how many teachers were teaching literacy differently. And so that was impacting, you know, our kids. So we collaborated earlier, I said, with Ohio State University, and we have 2 literacy coaches in here that have gone through extensive training to coach our teachers on how to be, you know, highly effective reading teachers. There's a lot more that goes into that, but that's the basic of the literacy framework. We're in year 2. Next year's year 3, so that ramps up a little bit what we'll be doing. In terms of addressing the social emotional needs, the Ohio Department of Education 3 years ago released new standards that school districts were responsible for teaching, and those are specific to social emotional skills. And so we have a PBIS framework, which is positive behavior intervention. And so that framework is in place in all of our buildings. We also use PACS, the Good Behavior Game. Judge Benson was good enough to help pay for that training for the primary and at the intermediate. And that's been pretty helpful for us to implement PACS. There are 65 special ed students in this building. We also offer speech, OT, PT, special ed teachers also. We have a behavior support team in this building, and the reason is because the number of little ones that come in with an inability to regulate their emotions is pretty significant. And that dysregulation manifests itself in meltdowns, running out of the classroom, running around the building, threatening to hurt other people, threatening to hurt themselves. That's not everybody. It's a small number of kids, but it's a significant number of kids that we had to put a behavior team in place. So that behavior team coaches teachers. It provides targeted social skills group training in the group for kids, and writes behavior plans for them also. We have a partnership with the Counseling Source and Integrated Services of Ohio. Without them, we could not do most of our job because of the level of support they provide for the mental health needs of our students. So they have put 10 licensed clinical counselors in all of our buildings. The wait list, though, is enormous for other kids that need services. So they've got 2 licensed clinical counselors that are in there all day long, and then we have a social worker in there, and then Integrated Services provides also support for students in the building as well. All of those things are paid for through Medicaid dollars, so that's a great advantage for us. If we had to pay for that, that'd be significant. The challenges of this building are obviously making sure that every kindergartner that walks through that door is ready to do school. They know how to sit in a seat, they can listen, they can resolve conflicts, and that they can learn how to read. And it's a challenge. It's just a big challenge. Many of our students from kindergarten come in with language delays. Either they've just not been exposed to a rich language home environment, or they have speech delays that have not been addressed as they were younger. And that does impede their ability to read. So that makes it a little more difficult. We talked about the social emotional learning. Again, that's a big challenge for us. Again, parent involvement is another challenge. We want our parents involved. We want them to come to school. We want them to reach out to us when they have concerns. We have hosted 2 pretty big events there, and they've been very well attended by families, so that's a big plus for us. There was a family bingo night, I think last week, 200 families in there. That's a huge, big step for us. We hosted a literacy night in this building about a month ago, also very, very well attended. So we feel like we're on the right track with picking events where parents will feel comfortable coming in. Student attendance is also a big problem in K1 and 2, in particular kindergarten and all the grade levels. So we're really focused on that as well, trying to make sure parents understand why it's important to send your kiddo to school every day. So the next building, Chillicothe Intermediate, I think this building's beautiful, but it's big. It opened in January of 2019. That was a rough start to open up in the middle of the school year. Probably not our best idea. But it serves grades 3 through 6. It has an enrollment of about 800 students. And they also are implementing the integrated STEM curriculum, the literacy collaborative, PBIS, and PACS. They have approximately 130 students with disabilities in there, and we also offer all the range of special ed services, OT, PT, speech. They have 2 STEM specialists, 2 literacy coaches, and 2 reading teachers as well. We try to provide a lot of support in K6 so we can make sure that we have all the support that our regular ed teachers need in order to meet the needs of our students and kind of fill in the gaps that we have from reading. This also, our challenges here with social emotional learning, not an inability to solve conflicts with friends is really a big deal here. We have some vaping going on here, which is kind of disturbing. I think they're they become at an age level there where they like to argue a lot. So that's really our big thing, is trying to help them learn how to navigate through difficult situations with their peers. We also have social worker in here and licensed clinical counselors. Parent involvement is another challenge here. We're working very hard. We hosted a literacy night here also very, very well attended. They've increased the number of events that they hold, like music programs, to try to get parents more involved. And the principal here has a parent-teacher connection, so does the primary, where, we're trying to get more parents to be on a committee to help, get more involved in your school. Again, that's a little slow moving for us. The next building is our 712 complex. And that has, what was the number of kids in there? It's like 1,400 kids in that building. We have 74 students that attend Pickaway Ross, and that usually starts when you're in the 10th grade, and that's a program that a lot of our kids need. Obviously, when you get up into here, the course offerings increase with regard to AP classes, College Credit Plus, music, the arts, extracurricular offerings also increase 7th grade on. This is where I get most of my expulsion hearings, is in the 712. We also have a PBIS framework here. And currently, the graduation requirements, it's like a moving target every year. It keeps changing. And right now, as of today, they need 20 credits. They must pass their end-of-course exams, which were just administered over the past 4 weeks. They must earn 2 diploma seals. And there are basically 12 categories they can earn 2 diploma seals in. That's a bit of a challenge, that particular section. So, high school graduation, obviously, getting kids to graduate is a challenge. We also provide guidance counselors in these buildings. We don't have guidance counselors in our other buildings, but we have them in here. We also have licensed clinical counselors, social workers. We have a homeless coordinator for the district, 5 special ed teachers, a literacy coach, a math coach. We tried, again, also to kind of provide a lot of support for teachers because we still have a large number of kids that hit the 7th and 8th grade and they read at a 3rd or 4th grade level. Obviously, the more in-depth you get into your curriculum, you need to have a higher level of reading and reading comprehension. Here's the challenges for this building. Getting kids to graduate. Getting kids to come to school on a regular basis so that they can earn their credits and pass their courses. Social emotional wellness of these students is a very big challenge. Last year before, maybe once a month, I get a request to sign off on education services for a student that may have been admitted to a psych ward for a period of time. This year, I've had 30 of them, and they're still coming. So our kids right now, especially at 712, are really struggling with the social emotional issues. And again, the demand is very high, and their services and supports are, we don't have what it takes to meet the need. Parent involvement also becomes bigger at 7 and 12. Parents just kind of, don't get as involved at this grade level. And this is where they need to be very involved. So that's kind of a challenge. Social media is a very, very big challenge. It causes a lot of problems with kids, their inability to stay off of it. So that's another one. And then vaping, and more vaping is a very, very big problem for our district in its grade levels. And we are not unique to this. This is happening across the state of Ohio, across the nation. I reached out to superintendents all over the place. What are you doing? And they're all having the same problems. It's not just Chillicothe. It's Upper Arlington. It's Dublin. It's everybody. We currently have vaping detectors in all the bathrooms. And so principals get a little buzz alarm every time the vape detectors go off, so they're busy. And I say to the kids, well, those are in there. Why are you doing that, But they just, they're going to do what they're going to do. So vaping is a pretty big issue. I sent out a letter a couple weeks ago to parents saying, please stop buying vapes for your kids. They're telling me you're buying their vapes. So we're trying really hard to find a better way to address this. The principal, Matt Valentine, has put together a committee to try to find other ways to address it, because obviously what we're doing is not working. There needs to be an education component to helping kids kind of understand really what's going to happen to you if you continue, but they don't really believe it's going to happen to them. So the vaping is probably the most disturbing to me. And then obviously student emotional wellness needs. The next is the Homeland Security Cavalier Athletic Center. I don't know who's been in there, but it's beautiful. Thanks to many people that are sponsoring and have made donations to really do a lot of upgrades there. Currently, if you're a student or a staff, you can get a free membership, come in there. It's pretty busy. We offer a lot of summer programs for kids. We're going to do that again this year, free of charge. I think the plan is to add some outdoor tennis courts. That's the next thing that we're working on. But it's a beautiful facility. I encourage you to come over. I know pickleball is super, super popular over there. So we appreciate everybody that has sponsored that. As a district, you know, our commitment to the community is to make our report card better. We have to do better. And we know this starts with high-quality literacy instruction, with kids coming to school every day, and with us being able to meet their social and emotional wellness needs. And we have a very, very dedicated staff that care a lot about our kids. And I think that's something I'm most proud of, is how much our kids are cared about by our staff. So I thank everyone for the support of the district. You're encouraged to come anytime. Come walk through a building. I don't know what people hear in the community. I hear all kinds of stuff, but most of what you hear is probably not happening in there. But I encourage you to come anytime. If you'd like to volunteer, we'd love to have you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie. As a parent of 3 CCSD students, I'm continually impressed by our staff, our teachers, administrators, and our board, and especially our students. They have a very complicated educational landscape to navigate these days. Now we turn to the state of healthcare and Dr. John Gabus, who is the Medical Director of Community Partnerships at Adena Health System. But Dr. Gabus needs no long introduction, as he's been a physician in Ross County for more than 30 years and served as our county's coroner for 26 of those years as well. Today, he's tasked with uniting Adena's resources with community resources to improve the health of our region, and he's here today to talk about the amazing community partners who help raise the bar on health in our community. Please help me welcome Dr. John Gabus.
Good morning. I have a cold and I'm raspy, so I'm hoping to get through it with a voice or a squeak by the end of this. So good morning and thank you for being here. We're very excited to share what's happening with Adena Health System as it relates to our service in the community. We're going to start with the basics. Our mission is we're called to serve our communities, and our role is to improve health outcomes. Our vision to be our region's most trusted partner in healthcare. That means our role is to build relationships and partnerships. And our guiding principle is do all that you do in love. How are we helping build a community where all might be served? So I'd like to go over some highlights of what I'm going to cover. The first is we were recently recognized as a Foster McGraw Award winner from the American Hospital Association. I'm not here to talk about us getting an award. I'm here to talk about those partners that help us do what we do. It's not about us, it's about our community. We're also going to talk about extended community partnerships, key initiatives in this area of community health and development. And we'll go over some of our successes that we've had. So Ty McBee and Kim Jones were recently in Washington, D.C. to receive this award on behalf of Adena. So glad that they were there. We were selected out of over 5,000 hospitals in the United States. There were 4 who were named finalists. There was 1 winner, and there were 3 finalists. We were one of the 3. We were the smallest health system in that category. The others were large health systems in metro areas. So we're proud of how our community has come together to work on health. Some of the areas that we felt that we did a very good job in our community is substance use disorder and addressing that, a comprehensive approach to well-being, and I'm glad that Debbie brought up the social and the mental health of our children in our schools is at a critical level, and we all need to figure out the best way to approach that and to help. We worked with our community during the COVID pandemic, and one of the key things that we featured was the participation and the passion of our community leaders. We're not just sitting back, we're getting involved, and we are passionate about what we do. So we're also engaged in the community at large. The first picture on the left is Jeff Graham receiving an award from 4-H. We sponsored every child who had a project at the Ross County Fair. And that's important because our children are our future. The far right is bicycle winners from a reading program that we have in multiple locations. Some other key initiatives: partnering for healthy kids. Superintendent Swinehart just made the case for all of that. Healthy communities. If we're not able to improve the health of our communities, there's a lot more involvement with the health system. Life expectancy can be lower, many things. We advocate for the victims of violence in many different forms. We also advocate for those who are impacted by substance use disorder. And a key component that we realize is helping to foster economic development. So a big, huge, actually it's not big, it's huge, thrust of our effort at Adina is now in school wellness and well-being in schools, not only for the students, but for the teachers, the staff, and everybody that works in the district. We've partnered with Nationwide Children's, and we're using a framework called Whole Child, and it's a holistic approach to how we respond to children and their needs. That includes parents' involvement, common themes here, huh? So impacting that micro-community in that school system. One of the things that we have realized is that when kids are at school, we have access to them to provide services. When they're not in school, we can't provide those services, such as medical, dental, and especially behavioral health. That's a crucial component, and we're working to develop those services to bring to the children while they're at school. In healthy communities, Adina, working with the United Way and many other partners, redeveloped the 211 service, which is a 24-hour information line that could help set up referrals. We track the types of calls that come in to 211, housing, food, employment, transportation. Those are typically the top 4. So we're able to identify what the needs are in the community and take steps to meet that. We have strategic partnerships with the YMCAs and churches in our region to extend health resources into the community outside of a clinic or a hospital setting. So the YMCA is a big partner, and I'll talk about 3 programs in just a moment. We also provide financial support for social resources that impact health, such as fresh food, Food RX. I can write a prescription for fresh food at the farmer's market. And medication assistance. We help to support the Hope Clinic charitable community pharmacy with that partner. We also have really ramped up our ability to apply for and receive grant funding, local and state grants, as well as federal grants. We can bring those in for strategic components and improve the health of our community. Another area of which we are very proud is our Adina Victim Advocacy Program. These are people who will respond to many sites, all of the emergency departments of Adina Health System, the urgent cares, and they are helped to be supported by a grant of $150,000 per year. These advocates meet people where they're at. They provide things such as a change of clothes if you've been a victim of sexual abuse or sexual violence. They follow you through that whole process. That person is your advocate. So that's a very important component for those folks who are in a very vulnerable position. Substance use disorder. On all of our community health needs assessment, that's what CHNA stands for, Community Health Needs Assessment. Every region that we do these in, and the other regions that perform their own, this comes up as one of the top 3 or 4 issues to be addressed. So it's not just in Ross County, it's everywhere. It impacts the individual who has a diagnosis of substance use disorder, but it's not just them, it's their families, and then in turn our communities. The dockets in the courts are full of the collateral of this issue. The families that are impacted by this, absenteeism, literacy, those are all negatively impacted. With the pandemic, people became more isolated. And when you have substance use disorder, isolation is like throwing gasoline on a fire. So unfortunately, the pandemic did fuel more of the negative impact. We received a $1 million HRSA grant, Health Resources Services Administration, Rural Communities Opiate Response Program. And through that, we were able to support the Hope Partnership Project, peer recovery supporters in different agencies. Knowing that we're making a difference is a critical component in substance use disorder, because if we don't address it, it's going to be a problem that will keep coming back generation after generation. One of the key things that impacts the persistence of substance use disorder is the stigma that goes along with it. And stigma makes you be quiet about what you're going through, whether you're the person or whether you're the family trying to support. You don't get down to the corner of Peyton, Maine and say, my son or daughter is on drugs, help me. We don't do that. We keep it very quiet. So reducing stigma so that people are having conversations about this is going to be very important. And then harm reduction efforts. How do we prevent people from beginning this path? Once they're on that path, how do we help them stay alive until they're able to get to effective treatment? This is an illustration that was done live. The Hope Partnership Project had a live stream, and as we were talking about stigma with two people who are, actually one of the persons is a peer recovery supporter who was part of this, and there were three other people, including myself. As we were talking about this, the artist was drawing what we were talking about. So it's very busy, but if you take a section and look at it, it's very poignant. It's very enlightening about what stigma is, how it comes across, and the impact of that. This is one of my favorite slides. We're not responsible for the economic development downtown, but boy, we're glad to be a part of it. With the Carlisle refurbishment and having many of our services for community health and development based there, we are so very proud to be part of that renaissance of downtown. Seeing it has been just a very positive experience. So some of our community partners. The YMCA offers 3 programs. One is called Live Strong for Survivors of Cancer, and it's an exercise program and a wellness program. The second is diabetes prevention. If you have prediabetes, there's an evidence-based program at the YMCA that will help you not progress to having diabetes. It's very effective. And the third is high blood pressure management and helping you manage your own blood pressure. Hopewell Health, they've always been an excellent partner. They're a federally qualified health center. We're not in competition with them. We are in direct partnership with them. They provide services at Mount Logan Community Clinic and other very important services. The city of Chillicothe with the transportation study, I now know what a Shero is. And it inspires me to think about getting my bike repaired. I talked about the YMCA, the schools. That's a huge component of what we're doing in community health. Community Action is another excellent partner. They provide services for a whole host of things, from winterization to transportation to finding you a home to finding you transportation to get to treatment, and the homeless shelter, the emergency shelter that is available in our community. And the Chamber of Commerce, along with all of the businesses that are part of the Chamber, economic development is a key component of what ADINA can help with in our community. These are just a few. The list is very, very long. And highlighting these folks was just a flavor. There are many, many more who have contributed greatly to the success of our community. How many here have ever heard of health outcomes and health factors? So health factors are those things that lead to health outcomes. Makes sense, right? This is a graph of or a table of our region with data that was updated on Wednesday. The county health rankings came out on Wednesday from the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. And you can see our circle there. The single asterisk areas are those that improved. The two asterisk areas are areas that worsened. So factors are and I have a slide that will go through this, so I'll just wait for that. But as you can see, many stayed the same, some went up, some went down. What this tells me anyway is that we cannot give up on focusing on health factors to drive better health outcomes. And health outcomes are basically quality of life and life expectancy. Those are two biggies. So a busy slide, so I'm going to kind of dissect it for you. This is policies and procedures, health factors, health outcomes. In this column are health behaviors, clinical care, social and economic factors, and physical environment. Note that clinical care is 20% of health. Me writing a prescription is 20% of people being healthy. So there's a huge percentage that we need to impact that's not in my office or with my patient experience one-on-one. So this is a very social determinant of health-driven model. So we talked about length of life and quality of life. And the light blue column are all of the areas that if we can impact in a positive way, it'll have a positive impact on our health. The pyramid on the far right is not Maslow's hierarchy. It's upside down. And the top of the pyramid is where we can make quick impacts on things like providing education. But when you drive down to the bottom of the pyramid, that's the most difficult thing to change, and that's socioeconomic factors. That's getting parents involved in making positive changes for their family. So it's a great deal of effort, and it's not, this isn't a one-year project. This is a generational project. So all of the things that we have in place are going to take time to play out over time and to reap those benefits. Social and economic development. Adena Health System is the largest employer in Ross County. So those jobs are well-paying jobs, 4,500 of people with a $350 million payroll. We help to support and attract jobs, nursing, physical therapy professionals, physicians, nurse practitioners, et cetera. That's an important attraction, and we're able to recruit providers here. Getting them to live in our community is one of the things that we want to positively impact. By working on the health factors and health outcomes in the economic development, we can do that. Placemaking with our community is also a key factor. What the heck is placemaking? It's making us a destination where people want to come. So by enhancing our downtown like we're doing, by providing social services, by providing great parks and recreation, that's how we do placemaking. We're below the national average on household income, and we're below the national average on participation rate in activities in our community. So one of the things that we use to guide our evidence-based approach is the community health needs assessment. But it just can't be a gathering of data. We have to have strong plans and programs in place to dramatically impact outcomes and factors. So we want to have it result in impactful strategies that we can use to improve those things that we've been discussing. If we're able to do that and work with our partners, their programs are effective. The Ross County Health District is also required to do an assessment, and we combine our efforts on the Community Health Improvement Plan so that we're not working at cross purposes. We're working together. It doesn't make sense to have two plans. And developing community-wide engagement and participation. I think We can take an example from city of Chillicothe with the Speak Out Chillicothe. I'm sorry if I'm not getting the phrase right. Talk Up Chillicothe, where we were able to provide input as citizens to the city about the services that we're looking for. So what are some of our successes? We now have 4 hospitals. We're required, not only required, but we want to do a community health needs assessment in each of those areas. We want to know the areas that we have to impact and make sure that we're building services to care for those people. Getting those strategic plans to be community-based. We can coordinate, we can convene and collaborate and catalyze a lot of these efforts. So that's our role. We're getting better at bringing in grant funding. In 2021, there was $2.1 million in grant funding. All of that gets plowed right back into the community for community-based programs. Adina established the Medical Director of Community Partnerships role. So they're investing in making that a visible role and helping to bring our community partners together so that we can impact our health. The COVID-19 pandemic, we couldn't do it by ourselves. No one agency could impact the pandemic in our community. We worked with the health district, community action, churches, hotels, many different people. The National Guard, we had a drive-through testing site, and at one point we had 93 people with COVID at Adina, whose bed capacity is 190. So just about half of our hospital was COVID. This morning when I checked, we're at 0. And that took all of us. So that's the community involvement. How about the clinical component, which is still a very important 20%? We've demonstrated excellence in many different areas. These are some examples of quality awards that we received. I'm most proud of the bottom right, the Leapfrog A. It's one of the hardest ones to get, and it's based on quality and clinical outcomes as well as the services offered. So stroke, we're a most wired health system according to the Chime Journal, Health Information Management Journal. So we're proud of the work that we do, and we're not out for awards. We're out for doing great quality that we can then measure against the best of the best. So that's what these awards mean to us, is that we're making progress. We're not going to rest on our laurels. So what about next steps? Expanding regionally is very important to us. We're now in 4 counties, and we provide services to people of 9 counties. We want to make the investment in evidence-based interventions. We want to be sure that we're supporting those things that work and work those hard. We want our partners to be wildly successful. If you're offering a service that supports our community, we want you to be wildly successful. The long-term goal is to be in the top quartile of health factors and health outcomes. We're in the bottom quartile. And I wore a special tie this morning. This is my Wright brothers tie. And I used to have a big photograph of the first flight, December the 17th of 1903, hanging up in my office. And I would point out to people who would be meeting with me, I'd say, this was impossible until it wasn't. That very important day in December of 1903, man was never meant to fly. Humans were never meant to fly. But they did. By persistence and experimentation and not giving up, we're going to make mistakes. We're going to come back and say we're not going to do that again. But it's so important that we improve the health of our community. Number 1, because it makes our lives better. Number 2, because it drives economic development. Number 3, it attracts more and more people to live in our community. So that's where Adina is spending a great deal of time. The school-based health, I feel like I gave it short shrift because it is a huge effort for us. We have needs assessments done in 5 districts with 10 more to come. It's just so important to support our children and the families so that 12 or 15 years from now, we're not dealing with worse problems than we are dealing with right now. So thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Dr. Gavis. We appreciate Dina Health System's unwavering commitment to healthcare in our community. Now we turn to the state of the county. Ross County is led by the Board of Commissioners, which has a diverse and complex role as it relates to the day-to-day operation of county government. Dwight Garrett, Doug Corcoran, and James Lowe are the commissioners, and each brings a different skill set to the chamber. They anticipate, today, Commissioner Garrett will deliver the State of the County address. He's in his second term as county commissioner after a long and distinguished career in education, including 20 as an administrator. Please welcome Commissioner Dwight Garrett.
Again, my name is Dwight Garrett. I was in education for 38 years. Debbie, I have great respect for you. Being a commissioner, we serve as three, you serve as one. So when the problems come to you, they come to you. When they come to me, they come to three. So it's a sharing thing for me. But it's a pleasure to work with the Vice President, Doug Corcoran, and Jim Lowe, who is the third commissioner. We have a lot of things going on. The most important thing, and Dr. Gapis, it's good to see you. He was my doctor for 4 years, a doctor for 4 years that I never saw. And I think that's the best type of doctor to have. The thing, probably the most important thing right now that's going on is the World Heritage inscription. That is coming to Ross County. The Voinovich School from High University did a study on this, stating out of the 3 counties, Warren, Licking, and Ross, it would bring roughly $4 million a year once the inscription was in. Right now, the inscription, or the nomination for the inscription, is in Paris, France, and hopefully the World Heritage will come into fruition in the summer of 2023. That is the hope. So, I want to give a little rundown. I'm going to keep this short. Dr. Gavis is nothing to you, and Debbie, this is nothing to you, but Debbie knows this probably better than Dr. Gavis does. We were taught in education, if you talk more than 20 minutes, people aren't listening. And sometimes even if you talk for 5, they're not. But that's all right. This is pertaining to the World Heritage. The process started in 2008. But there have been problems at each site. Our problem was AEP wanted to put a transmission station on the corner of Moundsville Road and 104. If you know what that location is, it's where the substation is for AEP. You've got a prison, the CCI, you've got the RCI right beside that facility. Now they wanted to put a 2-acre lake and a transmission station right there. If the committee came in and saw something like that, the High History Connection, along with the Visitors Bureau, we all sat down with Jen Altman and decided that was not the best location for that site. We worked with AEP. AEP has decided to move that site further to the south behind the old honor dorm where the CCI is located. So that'll open up things so it's not so clustered in that area. We've also come to an agreement. Ty McBee and Melanie Young and I have worked with AEP that when they do this 2-acre lake, if they do this 2-acre lake, the soil on the land should stay on the land, and we would like to rebuild Shriver Mound. Now, most people don't know where Shriver Mound is. Shriver Mound is right at that point where 104 and Moundsville Road connect. One day, 3 people came to my office at 4:30 in the afternoon. My responsibility as a superintendent, I always felt, was to stay until the last bus came in, because that's when the problems usually occurred. They sat with me for an hour and a half explaining to me what Shriver Mound was. Now, you know, at 4:30 in the afternoon, you usually like to go home, but it was a very interesting conversation. And Shriver Mound is during the summer solstice, from where my office or the superintendent's office sits now, which was built in 1938, 1936, they would look across Shriver Mound to the point of where Mount Logan is, and they could identify, that's the way they set their calendar, by where the moon would come up over Mount Logan. So our hope and desire is to rebuild Shriver Mound. That means a portion would be on the Union side of Scott side, and the another portion would be over on the prison side. It's kind of like a destination. When you come to Mound City, you'll be coming through a mound that's sat there for years. Stop and think. The Erie Canal came right through the center of Shriver Mound. 104 still does. Camp Sherman in 1917, 1918 had the great knowledge of leveling Shriver Mound, and that became a parade ground during World War I. So that is our problem, which has been solved, I believe. Another problem is the Mound Builders Golf Course in Licking County with the Great Circle and the Octagon. That has gone to the Ohio Supreme Court, and that will be the next thing that they will hear. And we're pretty sure, if not sure, really sure, that will go through. What will happen is the Ohio History Connection will have to provide a facility or a site for a new golf course for the Mound Builders. And the Licking, or the Warren site, there are some private property problems with Fort Ancient, and that problem has been resolved. So that's pretty much that in a nutshell. There are 5 sites. Mound City, which is in 1992 made a national monument, but Mound City is probably the one that has the most mounds that you can appreciate. Hopeton, which is across the river from Mound City toward Bridge Street. High Banks, Hopewell, and if you've been to Hopewell before, that had the most mounds and the most graves from the Hopewell Indians. The largest embankments, and most of those sites have been ground down by farming. But through interpretive grasses, which have been planted, you can see those locations now from observation areas. The dossier, as I've said before, now is in Paris, France. And from there, Melanie gave me some news today that I'm not going to give out, but I'd love to give out. I find it hilarious. Is it okay? No, you go ahead. The dossier is in Paris, but the meeting is to be in Russia. So I don't know how that meeting will work out. Through the American Rescue Plan Act, Melanie, being the driver behind this, has set up an app. The app is, you need to go to your app store on your phone, type in Chillicothe, then click on Visit Chillicothe, Ohio, then open the app. It's free. It's full of information of things to do. So if you're at Mount City and you want to go to Hopewell, you can type in that destination. It'll tell you the route to go and how long it takes you to get there. If you want to go to the poorhouse, if you want to go to a shop here in town, to Ivy's, all you have to do is put that information in, and that will send you to that location. Luke, I know I saw you give Miss Swinehart some water. You may need to give me something a little stronger if you have that. I'm going to go back in just a second. Just let me get through this, okay? So that is what's happening with World Heritage. Very exciting what's going to happen for Ross County. I can tell you I've had the opportunity to live many places. I've lived in Austin, Texas. I've lived in Appleton, Wisconsin. I've lived in Athens. And I've always come home because this is a great place to be. I wouldn't want to be here if it wasn't a great place. I wouldn't want to be a commissioner if it wasn't a great place for us to live. We get a lot of bad rap. But I'm going to tell you, any place you go, it's the same story. You have your homeless people, you have your drug problems. It's everywhere. It's what we make of it where we live, and this is where we live. And a lot of the kids, when I was a principal and a superintendent, would say, hey, when I get out of school, I'm going to get as far away from Ross County as I can. What a terrible place. Pillicothe. Made me sick to hear that. You'd be amazed at how many kids I hired back at Unioto who decided that they wanted to leave, who wanted to come back home, because they've come to find out it is a great place to be. We have 3 solar farms throughout the county in a pilot project. Pilot means payment in lieu of taxes. If you have a solar farm beside you, it isn't going to cause your taxes to go up because they're not paying taxes on that anymore. That's absorbed. So the pilot we have 3 projects. You can see them up here. I know it's hard to see. We have Salt City Solar, which is on 159. We also have the Yellowbud Solar, which is on 104. That's 274 megawatts. And we have a project that's going to be starting at Buckskin. It'll be a 120 megawatt project. The Solar City is a 49.5 megawatt. Each one of those, if you lived in that township, in Green Township or Union Township or Buckskin or Paint, the township will get a portion of the money, the school district gets a large portion of the money, and the county gets a portion of the money. So there's a breakdown. And the owner definitely gets some money, because they're not going to do it if they don't get paid. That's just the way it works. Right now, Senate Bill 52 has come out, slowing the process down on solar farms. Usually takes down 9 to 12 months. If you want to do a solar farm, you have to do a 5-step process to get the solar farm, and you have to make sure that there's a public hearing for people to give input on the solar farms. And finally, we have applied for money for grants over the past 3 or 4 years. We've received 2 from the Ohio Capital Grant, one for $50,000 for the Camp Sherman Park, one for $500,000 for a World Heritage Visitor Center. And the mayor and I are going to be speaking next week about the visitor center, I hope. We also have put in for a grant. Mark Johnson is working with us and Bob Peterson on a grant for $750,000 for a new Humane Society shelter. If any of you have been out to the Humane Society shelter and don't think that we need a new one, would you please tell me that we don't need a new one, because it is deplorable out there. We've also put in for $4 million through Congressman Winstrup for a sewer project. If you know anything about a sewer project, $4 million doesn't touch it, but it gets us a start. So that's what we're looking at right now. I know somebody would like to come up here and speak, but I really don't think he does, so I'm going to go ahead and... Commissioner Corcoran, would you like to come up, or you want me to do this? I know that none of you really want to know about the jail, but we'll talk about the jail anyway. The jail will be completed June of 2023. Any questions? This has been a virtual nightmare. This started back in 2016. It's been, my son-in-law is a commander in the Marines, and he's going to be a colonel in the Marines. He will be a commander at Parris Island starting in August. And if he was here right now, he would refer to this as a FUBAR. We had and some of you military men probably know what that means. But we went into a project believing that it was going to be a smooth project. We had an architect that did the drawings. We had a construction company that applied for the job and defaulted on the job. I'm not going to say a whole lot about it because we're in a lawsuit right now. A lawsuit against the company for defaulting and the surety company that represented the company that defaulted. So, but thank goodness the project's going to be done in 2023, hopefully. 2022, See, Doug, you should have come up here and done this. I'm thinking about the World Heritage inscription. But June of 2022, so that's right around the bend. So I appreciate your attention, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. Right here, I do want you to see this, out of the 3 counties that are involved in this book had to be put together. This is one had to be submitted. This book right here is $950,000 of information. You always like a lot. It's a lot of money went into this process. I brought in Jen Alton, who was a curator at the Monticello. She's been working here diligently for the past 4 years to get this process done. The finally it's completed. So if you'd like to hold it, you'll have to find somebody else's book.
I think I want to hold it because I've never held a $950,000 book before. I'm not allowed to touch it. Wait. Wow. I got to say, it only felt like 750,000 tops. But thank you, Commissioner Garrett. I appreciate the effort that it takes to keep Ross County operating smoothly. We come to our final presentation of the day, and it may be the most eagerly anticipated address of the day. The State of the City is a long-time tradition in Chillicothe, and even through the pandemic, Mayor Luke Feeney delivered that address. Mayor Feeney has served in the capacity of mayor since 2016 after previously serving as city auditor from 2013 to 2015. He's also a licensed attorney and worked with Southeastern Ohio Legal Services before taking on the mayor's role, and he also works in private practice today. So we're happy to host his address today. Please welcome the mayor of the city of Chillicothe, Luke Feeney.
Most eagerly anticipated, no pressure. Good morning. Mike, thank you for hosting. Thank you to Kingston Bank for hosting. It's a great event. Thank you to my fellow speakers, to their organizations and the contributions to the community from their organizations. My state of the city over the past couple years, the addresses have looked a little different. In 2020, I stood in front of City Council with wide-eyed optimism. I talked about planning for the future and early childhood education. I did not know that 3 weeks later the world would shut down. Last year, I presented my state of the city with a little help from my friends, sitting down on Zoom. So it feels really, really good to be back in front of a group full of optimism. There have been lessons learned over the past 2 years. There isn't a person in this room whose life continued on as usual after March of 2020. We all learned to adapt. Some of us by working from home, some of us by working twice as many hours, and others adapted by finding new careers. My biggest lesson learned was that as a community, we are capable. We are capable of doing hard things, especially when we pull together. So what is the state of the city 2 years after a global shutdown? I'm proud to say that the public servants at the City of Chillicothe continue to serve our community and have done so in new and innovative ways. Police officers, firefighters, the refuse and service departments, workers at the water treatment plant and the wastewater treatment plant, the lawn mowers, and accounts payable. Much of your work goes unnoticed, and that's because you do your job so well. Thank you for all you did for us during the pandemic and what you continue to do. Despite the odds, Chillicothe made great strides in 2021. This morning, I will highlight two of what I think are the more interesting projects we took on last year. One was the complete reimagining of the Chillicothe transit system, and the other was the initiation of our first comprehensive planning process in over 70 years. Last year, the city of Chillicothe was one of 11 cities chosen across the country and the smallest, to participate in the Bloomberg-Harvard Innovation Tract, a 9-month program that teaches a human-centric approach to problem solving. We used this opportunity to focus on the transit system. The framework of the project was to redesign Chillicothe Transit to move more people, more places, and compel the broader community to take a fresh look at transit. And that's what we did. During the year-long process, we engaged more than 400 residents and visitors and collected over 200 ideas for ways to improve our system. We discovered that our current system was reliable, but it took a long time to get somewhere, and it didn't necessarily get you right where you needed to go. After gathering ideas, we prototyped an on-demand system in order to see if it was something that would work for our city. And it did. So we fixed our traditional routes and added an on-demand service on January 1st. Since that rollout 4 months ago, we've had 757 unique riders on that on-demand system. And the new fixed routes have delivered residents and visitors on over 11,000 trips. And we are still providing transportation to county residents, but we've expanded who we serve and now travel to Kingston, Adelphi, and Richmondale, which we had not previously served. Another thing that we discovered through our community engagement was that many residents and visitors knew little to nothing about the transit system. During a 2-day prototype in July, more than 700 trolley trips were taken. The after-ride surveys had a 90% positive feedback rate. The beauty of that trolley is that it accomplishes 2 things. 1, it expands who uses transit and the transit system. And 2, it provides a fun, unique addition to the community. I'm excited to say that our brand new trolley has arrived in Chillicothe, and you will be seeing it on city streets soon. Thank you. The transit data is great, but the stories about how transit changes lives is what really drives home the point for me. The one that sticks out in my mind, specifically about on-demand, is of the single mother who works at a fast food restaurant in town. She relayed to us that she is now able to use the on-demand system to take her daughter to childcare, then she uses the same bus to ride to work, and at the end of the day, she uses the routine in reverse to get home. She told us the service is safe and easy and saves her about $240 per month. The other project that I want to highlight is really about taking a smart, thoughtful approach to planning for our future. I don't have any slides, but I do have a prop. This is our last master plan. It was published in 1949. It comes in 2 pieces. Many more if I'm not careful. Chapter 10 is titled Riverfront Treatment and Development. One subsection titled Floods Occur, one subsection is titled Floods Occur Annually. And it begins with this sentence, a flood visits Chillicothe on average at least once a year. Chapter 15 is titled Development of Carlisle Hill and has a subsection titled The Area Should Be Organized as a Neighborhood. Last spring, City Council, with special thanks to former Councilman Devin Shoemaker, who I think is here today, made the commitment to a new vision for the city. We just finished our first round of public meetings, which were both in person and online, and we have already received input from over 200 people. We are well on our way to a new plan that will guide how we use our city spaces for years to come. Only this time we want it to be a 10 to 15-year plan, not a 70-year plan. Switching gears a little, because of our financial stable position and positive union negotiations, we are able to look at going beyond staffing levels that we've had in place since 2016. Just this week, we put in for a $1.6 million grant to increase hiring at the police department. But regardless of the success of that application, we will be hiring new positions to make our community safer. And speaking of hiring, As of the beginning of this year, the city has a director of planning and community development, and she is off to the races. OSTPAL has pulled in $8.8 million in grant funds and has an additional $3.4 million of requested funding pending for various departments in the city and the County Land Bank. Among the funds we've been awarded in recent months are a total of $8.5 million that will go towards the upcoming $40 million wastewater treatment facility rebuild. On the toilet flushing side of things, we aren't going to notice many differences when the construction is complete. But I'm happy to say that my only design demand was that we do something about the smell. And I've been assured, right, Dave, that the facility will no longer stink. Other highlights include $270,000 in Safe Routes to School funding, $200,000 for de-escalation training, equipment, and staffing in the police department, a $1.7 million grant to launch an electric bus pilot, one of the first of its kind in the state, and we also received $40,000 for a grant for upgrades at Mary Lou Patton Park. I believe that one of the best ways to maximize our local taxpayer dollars is by bringing grants and outside money into this community. The projects and grants that I just named total over $10 million, which will come into this community to spur development, safety, and staffing, ultimately improving services and the quality of life for our residents. Now, while I've been highlighting what I believe are the positives in the city, I do think it's important that I mention a threat. And that threat is the proposed closure of the Chillicothe VA facility. Our veterans deserve the high quality of care that they receive at our Chillicothe VA, and they deserve to have it close to home. It would be a true tragedy if that facility closed. For all that our veterans have sacrificed for us and for our country, I think it's the least that we can do to fight for them. I know I will be doing everything in my power to make sure that that closure never happens. Our community does have incredible opportunities and a bright future ahead. During the pandemic, we learned to push out information quickly, but dialogue was difficult. During the innovation track and master planning process, we rediscovered the impact and benefit of high-quality engagement with our citizens. Despite the challenges we've faced over the past few years, we have come out better on the other side. We learned how to stay connected even while isolated. We learned to look to each other for hope, information, and resilience. And now we are engaging with the community on these transit projects and the master plan in ways that we haven't been able to do in the past, be it a pandemic or just for a lack of trying. I'm happy to announce today that we will be doing even more community engagement in the coming months with direct action in mind. In June, we will host 4 open houses, inviting the entire community so that we can listen and engage. We want to hear your concerns and your ideas. These meetings will be held at strategic locations throughout the city: the Scioto Township Hall, the Armory in the Park, the Ross County Service Center, and First Baptist Church. And if we need more meetings, we'll have them. And to be clear, these idea sessions are completely independent from our master planning process. The focus of these meetings will be to tackle problems that we are seeing today and that can be fixed right now. We will distill your concerns and your solutions into projects that we can take directly to City Council with requests for funding. The American Rescue Plan Act puts us in a position to make great progress for our community right now. So I'll leave you to think about that. What ideas and possibilities do you see? What have you seen done in other communities that would work well here? There is a lot that we've accomplished, but a lot more that we can do together. I hope that you will all be a part of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We've come to the close of today's event. 5 speakers in an hour and a half. I feel pretty good about that, actually. It might have felt a little long, but I think we heard a lot of great information today. I want to thank our presenters once again. I want to thank Kingston National Bank, the Postmark, DNA Productions, and Deeply Rooted Cafe for their contributions today. As we close, yes, thank you. As we close, I believe all of our presenters in the room and can elaborate or answer any questions that you have as they make their way to the exits. But as always, thank you for attending today. Thank you for your support of the Chamber. And thank you and have a great weekend.